Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I had done a previous episode that I never finished putting all together and posting because I got stuck and I was tired and blah, 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 blah. In fact, I don't even remember what I said at the beginning of the episode. I do think I announced that at the beginning of that episode, and if this is a repeat, I am sorry, but our election in Shakopee went well. We got the 2 levy votes passed, which made me very, very, very happy. But that's also why I was tired in my last one that I didn't show because I had been up late that night, just kind of winding down and calming down. And also that stress of just what happens if this doesn't go through was finally lifted. And yeah, yesterday I was tired. So I got stuck while recording on something and I couldn't get past it. My brain just wasn't working. So I'm like, I'm just going to trash it because I figured it out. And that's what I'm going to go through in this episode. And so we're going to finish off that analyzer and tests on the analyzer and the scenarios, hopefully today, or at least in this episode, and get that all done. So just to refresh for myself. I'm actually today a little calorie deficient because tomorrow I go for that wonderful colonoscopy, and this afternoon is going to be the big cleanse. I'm giggling like a 12-year-old, making poop jokes, It's not going to be funny when I actually have to start doing everything, but today I cannot is when I have to stop actually eating things, and I cannot eat anything until the procedure's done. So I'm only drinking, I can thankfully drink coffee. Oh my God, I could not imagine doing this without coffee. But I can have coffee, I can have Gatorade, I can have water, I can have, there's a couple of other things, I can have hard candies. So there's stuff that I can at least have to kind of, get that calorie count out. But I'm calorie count up, but I'm taking tomorrow off because I got the feeling tomorrow I'm just going to feel very weak and very tired and I don't want to do anything. But I wanted to do this because I did figure some stuff out. So what did I do? Well, back to this generic parameter thing. I did actually ask the team about, well, why can't you do this? Like, or not, why can't you do this? But could we add this? Can we put this on? Because it seemed like, and this is, again, when you're not part of this team and you're not part of a team that's done this for years and years and years, like there are just some things that I don't think of that you could do. And they just don't dawn on me. Like I put the suggestion in, it was immediately rejected as, nope, this is a breaking change. And so I'm like, when the Microsoft team does this, I get it. They get like tons of stuff and they don't have time to always be, they're not mean, but to be a little bit nicer. Like they could just say, hey, this is a unacceptable breaking change. I'm like, all right, I'm just backing off. I'm not going to say a word. There's this curiosity though that I have. And so I took it on as a personal learning experience to kind of sit there and go, why would this be such a breaking change? Because at runtime, the code is doing exactly what a new constraint would be. And it's going to make sure that type passed into the second parameter has a public parameterless constructor. So how is this a breaking change if you're going to be putting on something that's going to tell you at compile time that this is a thing? So I was like, I don't get this. How would this actually break? And even I thought, well, if you did like a reflection thing, we try to get around it and try to invoke the method with something that isn't parameterless, it's going to fail anyway at runtime. So you still want to keep that in. I just couldn't get my head around it. But then after a couple people were talking on this thread, which I'll make sure I got the link in the description here. But as we were talking about this, no, not there, because I had to do console app 2. It's basically this. So if you have a method that doesn't have that constraint on it, and then you have another method that's going to call that method, yeah, but maybe internally in this implementation, it's going to check to see if it has a parameterless public constructor, and if it doesn't, it will throw an argument exception at runtime. None of your code's breaking. Now, if I actually went in and I change this so that I uncomment this code, you'll see that this breaks now because this doesn't have that constraint. I could come over here and take this code and put it here, and now we're good again. But that requires me to change this, okay? Now, you can say, well, so what? But just by me putting in this constraint makes code fail that didn't fail before. I may have had it like this, and just because of the way I've done my code and I know how foo works, I would have never passed in a type for T that failed that. But now by putting this in, I've now broken my code. So I'm like, okay, I get it. That does make sense. And that's something I didn't think of. You know, why would you do that? I don't know. But that's perfectly legal C# code. And that's what I just don't have sometimes. And that's why when some people say, like, Jeff Fritz, I love you. You're a great guy. But one time I saw him on Twitch because I popped into one of his streams and he was like, oh, Jason knows the language, you know, C#, knows it inside and out. Or he said something to that effect. And I was just like, stop. Because I really, like, I don't know this as well as I think some people on, especially the Microsoft team that do this all the time. And there's other people that are not on the team that I feel have this level of education about the language and the runtime that I just don't have. So call it imposter syndrome, call it whatever you want. I don't know, but I was like, whoa, like I'd never, you know, like take this to that level. And I'm not even saying that's the extreme level. It's just, I don't think that way. And I don't think that far through. So it's a deficiency I sometimes have, you know, but it is what it is. The point is that's not going to be added to the constraint. The other two, we know they can't be added because you can't put a constraint on for sealed or for just having an interface. So we're going to have analyzers around it. One thing also that was in this thread is talking about having analyzers. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm actually working on. And that's what brought this up. One other thing that was mentioned is this, did they actually, no, that was all I was talking about, is this one thing called dynamically accessible members. And I want to keep this in mind in my notes because I don't know what this attribute is and what it means and what it's for. I'm not going to worry about it right now, but I do want to check that out later. So there. The one thing I also figured out in the test is this analyzer has multiple diagnostics, and the way that this test infrastructure works, these packages that come from Microsoft, they seem to assume that the analyzer by default has one diagnostic. And so if you have multiple, you have to do some extra work, which is okay. But what I didn't really think of is, well, what is that extra work? What I kind of wish is in Transpire, if you look at some of my other tests here, let me go and bring up another one here. It doesn't matter which one. Is that they use this verifier, and then you can just say verify.verify analyzer code. What would be nice is right here is if they had, which they do, if you look at the overloads, there should be, yeah, not overload, but they have a params here. They say diagnostic results. Even if you pass in another diagnostic result here, it doesn't seem to help. You still get this error that says, well, you're returning more than one, blah, blah, blah. And you have to do some extra work, which I finally went to their site, which is here. Okay. I got to remember all this so I can show this later when I'm editing the video about how you can do some advanced use cases and do some setup. And so what I was not figuring out in my brain is the type that you have to do this special stuff. And so you have to have it actually do test. Whereas if you look at these other tests, when they do this alias, it's analyzer verifier. You have to actually go down to the test. And that's what I was getting messed up on. But now what I do is I have this private class that we can capture a descriptor if one's going to be there. And that's the one that we're going to return from get default diagnostic. And that's when we just say, we know in this case, that's what our descriptor is going to be. We also pass in the code that we want to run. So now we can use that to do this. And again, this is fine to me. This is more code. Well, not more code, but this is a little bit more code than what I had to do before with just the alias, but it's less than what I was doing before. And this, again, still does all this good test infrastructure where it's going to find if code doesn't compile and all that other stuff that I wasn't doing before. So that's all good. So I do have a test in here that says if you're passing in something that's a class, it does fail with this descriptor. Okay. If we have code that's right, then it won't fail and we just pass in a null. So we're good from that perspective. Okay. So what I want to do is let's commit this because I don't want to forget, got the first case plus test to pass. So we'll commit that, push that. And then let's go to you can get rid of that one. So what was the next one? So we have is interface is not sealed. Okay, so we do have the right one here. If the type kind is that, now we can actually do another if here because you could have two cases here. You could have a case where you say we're passing in a class there and we're passing in a proxy type that is sealed, both of which are errors, and we'd want to fix both of them. Okay, so now we want to say if, and my brain is a little weak today too, not because I'm tired, but because I'm falling short on calories. So it's not a good thing. So I'm going to just get this energy up long enough to get through recording this, and then we'll maybe do another one, but maybe not. Maybe I'll wait till tomorrow after everything's said and done, and I can. Well, I don't know. I'm babbling. Let's move on. So the next thing I have to do is the target method. Look at the second argument. Okay. And so now we want to say var t proxy type is equal to target method dot ta1. And we know there's going to be two. I mean, if that breaks, then wow, they really broke something. So we want to look at this and say, is it sealed? Is sealed. And if it is, now we've got this to do. Okay. And we can actually do the third one separately. You could pass in a class, you could pass in something that's sealed and doesn't have a parameterless constructor. All three of them could fail. Okay. But in this case, what we want to say is tproxy is not sealed rule at that location, and we're done. And then the last one is, this might be a little bit tougher. So what we want to say in this case is we want to find if you actually have a constructor that is public. I'm not going to necessarily worry about is accessible because I think I did a check on that. That if you, let me come back over here. I think I did something where I said, you know what happens if, let's bring all this back in. No, we don't need this. This is my reflection coding that I was playing with. Let's do this. Okay. So now we want this thing in here because it doesn't know what these are, and say that. But we wanted to make this an internal one. Okay. Yes, we need to comment this out because that's just noise at this point. So if we run this, I believe this fails. Even though it's accessible from within, but it's not accessible from dispatch proxy, and that would fail. Base type cannot be abstract. Well, so just checks that one and then it would fail right away. We want to do all three. In this case, it's not public and parameterless. So we want to find, in our case, what we want to do is say, okay, let's try to find, can we say on the type constructors? No, we can't. So we can say get members. Okay. And then that gives us a mutable array. And we can say dot where. You don't know where that is. Well, we can say any here. We want to say any. And you don't know. Stop it. You don't know what. No, stop. Ugh. Oh my God. Do you know what any is? Did I already have that up here? I guess you do. Okay, never mind. So what we want to say is that the member, can you say is constructor? Kind. It's not, it's a getter, and we want to say it's a symbol kind dot. I don't think you can say constructor here either. Nope. What we want to do, can we say symbol kind is method? Method? Yes, we can. And dot, this is where I just have to search to see declared accessibility is equal to I wish the IntelliSense would kick in. What is this? Come on. Come on. You can't do that? Oh my goodness. You can't navigate to the symbol. The caret. Why? Valid expression term. That's that. There. Now come on. You can't do this. You don't know what this is. Come on. That's pathetic. Accessibility is equal to accessibility.public. So we found a method that's public. And what else do we want to do? Metadata name, original definition. I don't want to rely upon a name. It would probably be the same. It'd either be CTOR or it would be the name of the containing type, because that's the only time you could actually do that. I'm just wondering if there's a way to say, because it'll tell you it's a method, but the type kind, I don't think that would tell you. That's interesting. Oh, because we're getting the members. We're not getting the actual thing. Okay, that makes sense. But what we want is a way to say symbol kind, which we did as a method. That doesn't help. Is static, it would have to be not static. It's not static. And what else? I don't know if there's anywhere else on this that you can tell that it is a unsupported method. Is abstract, is definition. What's that? No. Is extern plus declared. Wouldn't be override, sealed, or static, or virtual. Metadata name. That's, yeah, we don't. It's a symbol name, because a method name couldn't have the same name as the containing type. So I think if we said name is equal to tproxy type dot name. So if none of those cases actually happened, now why are you barking here? Mutable rate does not contain a definition for any. Well, you were not having any problem with this before, because you had yeah, now you work. Whatever. I guess you're just being slow. So if we find something that is a method, is declared public, is not static, and has the same name as the thing, then we're good. If we can't find anything like that, then we have this one kicking in. Okay, so now let's just write some tests. So we had a test up here. That's to fail this one. Let's do a test that's going to fail when passing proxy type is sealed async. So in this case, what we want to do is we're going to have an interface here, iTarget, which we got to change up above. But in this case, it is sealed. Can't be abstract either. I noticed that there was a rule there that said it cannot be abstract, which would be actually interesting, because I don't think the documentation around create, let's go back to this. It says that the exception is sealed or does not have a parameterless constructor. But if I come over to Mighty Console app, if I say abstract here, not abstract, abstract, I think this is going to fail too. Well, it's going to fail because, well, it cannot be abstract. That's another thing that's there. So even if I took this away and just said, be explicit, make it public, that's also going to fail. So we have another case here that, wasn't quite understanding, which is, go away, come back over here. We're going to want another case to make sure that it is an abstract. Can't be sealed and it can't be abstract. One more time. This should be, if I say sealed here, it's also going to bark at this. right? Yep. Okay, so fourth case. This one is just, it's sealed and we don't want that, okay? So now this one is going to be which descriptor is not sealed, right? That's the one when we're doing in this case. So this should pass. God, this not having calories sucks. Oh my God. And I have at least another 24 hours of this. Coffee is not calories. I get that. That doesn't help. I need to actually go get some Gatorade soon. But does this pass? Does not. Why not? 1 and 2. So T-proxy must have a parameterless constructor. Well, that's weird. Oh, that's us failing. Okay, which it shouldn't in this case. It should be fine. So this one is kicking in. Oh, because we don't explicitly declare it. Wow, that's going to be fun. Yeah. Is it creatable? Does it blend? It's not on the type itself. But that doesn't mean, if we don't find anything like this, that doesn't mean that you couldn't create it. It just means that it, what we'd need to find are methods that have the same name as the same name as the containing type. And if we have any of those, we don't have to worry about being static, although maybe we want it to be not static, and that's public. That's the requirement. You have to, if it, that run, we do have that, then you cannot. Yeah, sorry, this did break my brain a little bit. So if you don't have anything declared like this, then you're actually, I think, okay. Then I think you're saying that you can actually create it because there is an implicit constructor created, but that's at compile time, and that's what's going to go into the IL. It's not actually on your definition that you explicitly have in code. Though you could be referencing a type from another assembly that it, because of the way it's defined, does have this. So we also need to be careful of that case. So what does this all mean? It would be nice if there was just a way to say, is this creatable? Like, is the proxy type, is it creatable? Can you create it? If we can't find any, that's actually okay then, right? What we want to do is find when you have declared a method that is public and has the same name and isn't static. No, if you have a method that has the same name and isn't static, but if the accessibility, yeah. Because like if I come back over here and I say I'm going to have public my property string A, and I don't care what A is, this should also break because now I don't have a parameterless. Fine. Yeah, we need to have a public parameterless constructor. So I'm kind of repeating myself, but we need to find either, how do you find if you have any constructors defined? Like the member, if you had a method symbol, could you say it's a constructor? Like if I said here, I method symbol A dot is constructor. No, it's an extension method. It's not extern. It's not a definition. It's not a conditional. It's not any of those. If you, it'd be nice to go, okay, if you don't have any constructors defined yourself, then you're good. But if you do, then let's just experiment here real quick. Let's get here. Let's come back over to my test. And what we're testing for is it being sealed. And so it found the sealed one, but it also found it didn't have a public constructor. So let's do this. Let's just put in, well, it should find the invoke one, right? Yeah, so it should find the invoke one because we're just doing get members here. So let's do this. Let's run this test. Yeah, we don't need to put a breakpoint there anymore. And we don't need to put a breakpoint there anymore either. All right, so what we want to do is run this. Let's just see what we get for the value. Length 2. Well, that's nice. So if I said 0 here, what is that? That's the invoke. What's the 1? That's the actual... So there is a constructor, even though we didn't put it there, it's there. Okay, well, good enough to know. Now if I say this, what's its kind? It's a method. What's its declared accessibility? It's public. Is it static? It's not. What's its name? CTOR. That's why I assumed wrong. I think I did say previously if it's, we should probably put that in a constant. Now we should see just 1 because we should find 1. It's not the any won't fail. And it passes. Okay. Now let's put a code in here when passing proxy type does not have a public parameterless constructor. Private this. And now it should be that one. I need to get, I want to finish this, but I need to get some calories. I can already feel a little shaky. It failed. Of course it failed. So I have to, but 2 must not be C. Oh, that, well, okay, it did right. It did right because we still had it sealed. So we don't want that. And it passes. Let's do one more real quick. I know I'm looking at the clock and I'm looking at the time, but let's say when it is abstract, because that should also fail. Okay. Except we don't have that fail. We don't have that because we need, tproxy is not abstract descriptor. Okay. But we need to change this in all of this. No. H. There. I think this is 10. Abstract. Okay. Let's come over to our analyzer and put in oh, I don't have one. Okay. Okay. And we say here. Now, interestingly enough, you can, I think, define a class to be both sealed and abstract. No, you can't. Okay. Yeah, so it's going to be one or the other. The reason I said that is because a static class is actually defined as an abstract sealed underneath the scenes, which means you cannot inherit from it and you cannot derive from it, both, which static is not a IL construct, but you can say abstract and sealed, which is, so in this case, we're going to say if it's abstract, else if. So is abstract, then we're going to do the tproxy is not abstract rule. So now we can come over here and say that, and now we'll say abstract descriptor, run this, this should pass, and then we're going to run all the tests here, and hopefully they all pass, and if that's true, then we're done. I mean, I got to commit and do all the other stuff and write the documentation, but I believe them, well, no, we need to do the scenarios. But this failed. Why did this fail? We did 1, we got 2. Oh. Well, you're not wrong. I mean, I guess when you have an abstract class, then you don't have a public parameterless constructor or something. It doesn't automatically generate that for you. Something in the back of my brain is reminding me that if you do have an abstract class, it actually doesn't do that. So if I make this abstract, okay, and I just say build, and now if I go into IL spy, and this is console app 2, which is mightily there. We don't want IL, we want C#, right? Well, maybe. We have my proxy, which does have, oh, okay, so it's protected. But in IL, it does make a constructor. Okay. But if I do this and I say build, it should, it still thinks it's abstract. Am I looking at the right thing? Oh, now it did it. Okay, and then has the invoke and the constructor. Oh, that's, okay, I just realized what it did. Whereas if I make this abstract, that's what it's doing. It's making a constructor, but it's a family, which is basically protected. Like if I change this to C#, you'll notice that it has a constructor, but it's protected. And based on the rules that we have here, it's finding the method. Whoops, not there. It's finding the method, but it's also finding that its accessibility isn't public. So I'm going to stop here because I think I'm not going to make another episode on this, or maybe I will later. I don't know, but I need to get some calories in. I think I would do something like, if it's abstract, report this. Else, then check to see if it's sealed. Okay. Else if this. Else, because if it's abstract or it's sealed, I guess you don't care about the constructor. I think I'd say then else, and then look to see if you have this. Maybe that's why the underlying code. I wonder if that's what, I mean, I could look at dispatch proxy code and see what it's doing underneath the scenes. I might do that off camera because we can see all the code. I mean, that's all accessible. So anyway, I'm good for now. I made progress. I feel better where I am. So that's a good thing. We'll see how tonight and tomorrow go. Yay. Thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.